But if that would be for items not on the agenda, so we'll go on to our discussion. Director report.
All right. So thanks again for everybody for making yourself available for the meeting. And I'm going to put that first picture up there, Joshua. So again, today what we wanted to talk about is the Homewood Golf Course Clubhouse, the new design, construction project that we have going on, and the potential for LEED certification or no LEED certification. So with the information that was in the staff report, and really what we're looking for at the end of this is just to get direction from the commission. What do you see, or what do you think we staff should be doing? And then hopefully on February 12th, we will be taking this to council with a formal recommendation in regards to whether we pursue LEED or not. So I'm not going to go through everything that's in here, but just from a funding standpoint, there is $750,000 for construction that's already been allocated by the city council. In addition to that, there was $50,000 for design, so $800,000 total. The initial project or cost estimate from the engineer and the architect, was $1,089,000. So what we talked about is, do we do things differently? Do we cut things? How do we get down within the budget that we have? But in talking with the city manager wants to make sure that this project is done right. And he is recommending through the budget process right now to ask city council to allocate another $250,000 for construction for this project, which would come from general fund reserves from fiscal year 17-18. So that would give us $1 million for construction and $50,000 for design. So that's just a kind of an overview. Now the group that we're working with is the Design Alliance, and what you can see on the screen is a rendering of the current project, what we're looking at. And if you go to the next slide, Joshua, please. So this is the basement, and again the portion to the right will just be dirt. It'll just be in the first floor. That'll just be slab on grade. The portion on the left, and in this picture, north is to your left. So with it, so basically the basement will be where all the green dashed lines are, and that's kind of depicts the golf carts being under there, and there'll be charging stations. And then you can see the garage door up on the top, and then there's a couple of mechanical rooms, and then stairs going up. So that's basically the basement. We're not looking at heating that to a high temperature or anything. But there will be maybe a little bit of heat in there because there will be some pipes, and the whole thing will need to be sprinklered and so on. So with the first floor, if you can take a look again, north is to your left, and you can see to the right of the screen coming in from the south, little vestibule. You get into the building, and you have kind of the concession area or the golf operations area. And Josh, we can point out the kind of the concession counter, the point of sale counter, with it. So that's that area, and then there's the office behind, and then to the left side with all the tables, that's the community room, and then you have the restrooms, kind of to the north or maybe to the east of that, and then kind of on the south and the west, you see the patio that's kind of depicted from that line. So that's just an overview so people that are at home, watching, kind of gives you an idea of what the design is. Now, one of the things when we were going into this, we've been discussing, energy efficiency, and with our architect that we're working with through Design Alliance, that's what they've been doing is trying to say, hey, let's make this as energy as efficient as possible. Now, one of the conversations or questions that came up recently, okay, you're going through energy efficiency and so on. Could this building be LEED certified? And LEED, as we pointed out in here, it's It's administered by the U.S. Green Building Council, but LEED is Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. And what it is, it's a certification process. So if you go to the next slide, there are different certification levels. And with right now, so LEED started around the year 2000, and currently they're on version 4. So there was a version, original version, version 2, version 3, and then there were some other versions in there too, like 2.2 and so on. And right now they're working on a version 4.1. It's not a total revamp, but there are some changes. So initially, right now, I should say in version 4 and in version 3, there's a total of 110 points possible that you can get. And out of the 110 points, you can see if you get 40 to 49, you're a certified LEED building. And then you can go to silver, gold, or platinum based on how many points that you get. The initial version, and you'll see when we go to the next slide, initially, like one of the city facilities, you can go to the next slide, Joshua. So Cyride Office Edition, at that time when they did this, there were only 69 points possible. So things have changed. And one of the things that I highlighted in the staff report is with LEED, what they try to do is as things, they kind of set their standards, they set their requirements. But then what happens is as time goes on, some of the requirements or standards that they have become standard industry practices. So what they've done is they say, all right, if these are standard industry practices, maybe we don't necessarily have to make those requirements. So what they will do is they either say, hey, this is what the industry is doing anyway, so let's drop them off, or let's make them prerequisites. So you can see on the one chart that we gave you that in some of those categories, there's a number of different prerequisites that are required. So what they do is they say, all right, now people are doing this. So what's the next thing that we can do? And one example is with the green vehicles. When I was talking to John Dunn out at the water plant with their certification, he said for green vehicles, all they had to do was to put some signs up to identify parking spaces for green vehicles. And if they did that, they got the point. Well, now in version 4, the way our architect has explained it to us, you not only have to have the signs up, for green vehicles, you also have to have a charging station. To do a charging station, that could, based on the information that we received in regards to some of the other charging stations that the city has installed, could be an additional $10,000 to $15,000 just for a charging station to get that 1 point. So that's kind of what happens. And this slide gives you an overview. Ames Public Library under version 3, they did. What they did is they designed to silver standards and actually got gold, but just enough. They had 1 extra point, so they got gold. If they had 1 less point, they would have gotten silver. And you can see the Ames Intermodal facility, that 43 out of the 110, so they just certified. And then Ames Water Plant and the bus expansion are still in progress, so they don't know. Where they're at, what certification level. So that's still happening. So there are a number of different categories as well. And no, back to the other. So a number of different categories, with this. So we fall under the BD plus C, which is building, design, and construction, new construction. There is also a BD plus C core and shell. For existing buildings and so on. And then you've got healthcare and you've got schools and you've got a lot of hospitality. There's different categories. So anything in all of these facilities as well, that's the category that we would be looking at, the BD plus C new construction. All right. So if you go to the next slide, Joshua, and maybe just zoom in on that left column and maybe the first couple categories. So what our architect did, Design Alliance, what they did is they went through, and I should mention Christopher Orth, who's the project principal from Design Alliance. You know, he is a LEED certified professional. So that's one category, and then you can specialize in a number of different things under that. You can get like a certificate for maintenance, or a certificate for different categories and so on. So he just has the certification, LEED certified professional. So he does have some experience with LEED. So what he did, he worked with the sub-consultants that they're working with, and what they did is they went through and they kind of categorized all the different points, and that's what you can kind of see. And what they did then is said, yes, we can get that point. The yellow is kind of a maybe we could get that point. And then the kind of that right column, kind of an orangish, reddish, those were points that they didn't think that we would get at all, you know, based on the design, what we're trying to do, and so on. So what they did is, out of 110 possible points, you know, they feel that we could get 25 points in the green. Okay. And those would either be already part of the design or for minimal additional cost. It could be put into the design, and they feel comfortable with getting 25 points. The yellow, the 19, there's 19 of those. Those are maybes, and they're not sure if we could get those or not. If we got the 25 plus the 19, that would give us 44, which would be just enough, well, 40 to be certified. But again, if we did the 19, that also comes at a more moderate cost increase. And we'll show you that slide in just a little bit. So just with going through, and we won't go through every one of these different categories, but if you just look at location and transportation, you can see, you know, sensitive land protection, you know, we think we can get 1 point for that. Maybe the green vehicles, but again, that comes at a cost of $10,000 to $15,000 to put in a charging station, and we're not sure the golf course is the best location for a charging station from that standpoint, because most people, you know, come from Ames. You know, we do have some people, non-residents, that come and golf, but if they're charging at home, they aren't expending a lot of energy to get across town to get to Homewood and then back. So that was just one of the things, but it is a point that we could get, but it would come at a cost. Now, some of these things, so like the bicycle facilities, you think, hey, why can't we get a point for bicycle facilities? Well, it's not only providing places for people to park their bicycles, if we put bike racks and so on. It also may include some storage of bikes for staff, you know, to keep their bikes. But also, if staff, the whole idea of this, if staff is riding their bikes, then you need to provide a shower for them, so when they get to work, they can shower and so on. So that's one of the things you can think, hey, you know, and again, at one point, way back when, it might have been, hey, just provide, you know, some bike racks, and maybe you got the point. But because most people are doing that, or all people are doing that, hey, what else do we need to do? So that's just an example. Reduced parking footprint. You know, because of the community room, we're actually, you know, at some point, we'll probably increase the number of parking stalls that we have, especially if we're going to have golfing and potentially have an overlap, you know, with a community room or a rental or an event. So with the next one, sustainable sites, you can see that there is a prerequisite: construction activity, pollution prevention. They feel we can get that. But then there's some of the other ones, the site development, protect or restore habitat. Well, it's not, basically we're taking an old clubhouse down, we're putting a new clubhouse in. So it's not like we're taking a 10,000 square foot building, only going to put in a 3,000 square foot building, and then we can restore that other 7,000 square feet. We're basically taking one out, putting something else in. So some of those points we won't get. There's no open space. You know, maybe with the rainwater management, you know, heat island reduction. So that's really associated with parking. So if you're going to have parking to kind of reduce the heat that's generated, you would need to do some type of shade or some type of roof structure, over the parking to get those points that are associated with it. So again, I'm not going to go, if you can go down, Josh, we'll maybe touch on a couple of others. You can see with water efficiency, there's some with indoor water use reduction. Right now, if you look at the facility, 2 restrooms is what we have, and then we'll have some sinks as part of the concession operation. So there's not a lot of water use, even in the entire facility, with it. Optimizing energy performance, there's a lot of points available. Few we can get 8, maybe could get another 4. But there's 6 that we wouldn't get, and some of these are associated too is with monitoring and metering and so on. So some of the points that you have to do is you have to install a monitoring system, which again comes at an expense. But again, for such a small facility and with the amount of water usage that we're going to do, most likely we'd spend all this money on the monitoring, and it's probably not going to help us a whole lot, because when somebody's going to flush the toilet, they're gonna flush the toilet. It's not like we're going to be using massive quantities of water on a lot of different things where we could wind up saying, hey, our water usage is way up. What could we do differently? So. And then you can see, materials and resources, just some different things, there. The one with this building life cycle impact reduction or construction and demolition waste management, there's some things here where to get some of those points, you would have to do a recycling program. Well, for the city of Ames, it doesn't pay for us to separate paper and cans and bottles and everything, because everything winds up going to resource recovery anyways. So there's some points there that we wouldn't get. So if you go down to the bottom, and that's where you can see, so they're saying 25 yes, 19 maybe, and then 66 that they just feel we would not be able to get. So we kind of as we were going through this, we talked about some additional costs and so on. So if you go to the next slide, so this is kind of a breakdown. If you can just zoom in on that just a little bit, just so you get all the numbers. Up too far. Yep, there you go. Okay, so the current construction budget range, and you can see there's a low of 823,000 and then a high of 943. You just really want to remind you, so when you hear construction budget, that's just the construction cost of the building. Project cost then also incorporates all the soft cost, the A&E, which is architect and engineering, FF&E, which is furnishings and equipment, and so on. So that's kind of all the soft cost. So how did we get this range of 823 to 943? The engineer's estimate is the 943. But one of the things, as staff, we said, wow, that just seems like a lot of money, for this building. So what the engineer did do is he did reach out to a local construction company who was interested in this project and said, hey, can you just run through? And he gave them all the different components. And can you just run through and see what you think something like this would cost? So that construction company, when they came back, they said, from a construction perspective, we think we could do it for $823,000. So in reality, that's $120,000 difference, but maybe somewhere in between is what it's going to wind up being. So one of the things that they looked at also is trying to find some comparables regarding LEED and clubhouses, golf course clubhouses. There aren't a lot out there. We tried to do some research also, and I pulled up on the LEED website. I put in clubhouse, it's like all these things came up, and it's like, great, there's a lot of different examples. Well, what I found though is Joshua started looking at them and things. A lot of clubhouses were for like housing developments. So like Stonebrook, they have a clubhouse that all their members can utilize. So that were a lot of these clubhouses, and they were big, but there were a couple that we found, with golf course clubhouses. But one of them was 19,000 square feet. It was part of a resort. They had 2 restaurants. So again, not really comparing, apples to apples. So really couldn't find a lot of comparables that, a 3,000 square foot, golf course clubhouse type of thing. So what they did is they looked at some different things. They looked at restaurant, they looked at office space, and they tried to take a look at what would it cost. So what they came up with is that just to do a green building, LEED certified building, generally the cost is 15 to 25% higher. 15 on average. The higher end would be 25%. So you can take a look and you see from the low, if you added that 15% or the 25%, that takes that construction cost, on the high side now to $1,028,000 or $1,179,000. Okay, and then there are some third-party commissioning fees to go through the LEED the LEED process. So then you go down to B, those soft costs. That's the A and the E and the FF and E and all those things. So those 140,000 on the low end to 145,000 on the high end, and then they had some different options. So what if we just pursued informally, getting about 25 LEED points, saying, hey, let's shoot for what we think we can accomplish, those yeses. And those are design fees. So to do that, additional $600 to $7,500 in design fees. If we wanted to informally pursue the 42 or 40, LEED points, design fees, then you're talking additional $21,000 to $26,000, If you wanted to pursue the formal LEED certified, to get kind of to those 45 points, 44 points, now that's an additional $77,000 to $95,000. So what does that look like from a project cost standpoint? All right. So you got the current total project range again, $964 to $1,089 is what they have, and that's kind of the A component, A plus B. So those soft costs. So that's that part of it. Then to pursue informally 25 LEED points. Now they're putting in, you not only have the A, the budget range, the A3, which is the commissioning fees, and then the owner soft costs, and then the design fees for the informal 25 points. So you can look at, to doing that, the range is from $978,000 to, $1.1 million. If you do pursue informally the LEED points, the project cost goes from just over 1.1 million to just under 1.3 million. And if the architect's estimate right now is if we were going to pursue formal LEED certification, you add all those costs together, and the range could be anywhere from $1.25 million to almost $1.44 million. So if you look at those bottom two numbers, if we wanted to go with the formal LEED certification, you're looking at another $205,000 to $386,000, above and beyond, and we don't have any funding identified. So what are the implications with this? And hopefully as we're going through this, we're just trying to give you all of the information associated with it. We're not trying to say, hey, we're for or against, LEED, because there are a lot of good things, with LEED, and there's a lot of buildings that are LEED certified across the country and across the world. But some of the implications of going LEED at this stage of the game, most of the time, you make this decision before you even get started. and you're bringing people on. So anything that you're doing, you're doing that right off the bat. So we're not typical trying to say, hey, let's do lead, kind of in the middle of the project. So some of the implications, obviously the cost, which we just mentioned. The other thing would be delaying the project. The current, timeline that we were looking at is we were hoping to bid this project in March, is what we would like to do, be able to award it after that, and then have construction start at the end of the summer. So we can get all of our golf leagues in. We won't impact any of those activities. They could demolish the building. They could put up the shell, start constructing, and then they could do a lot of the inside work and finish it up over the winter time. And hopefully we'd be open for, April of 2020. With this, what we would do is best case right now from our architect is that we probably wouldn't be bidding until late summer right now if we had to go through the LEED certification. So most likely late summer. By the time, we actually put it, if we bid it, say at the end of August, 30 days, sometimes longer for a bid. That means we get bids back maybe at the end of September. We have to at least report or hopefully award the contract. If bids become unfavorable, that would be at the first meeting in October. Then they have to do contract and bonds. You have to be be brought back. So that would be like the end of October would be the next time that the construction company would be able to do that. And then we're feeling once we get into November, we're not sure that they would be able to do anything at that time. So construction probably would be held off until the spring. And if we wait until the spring to do this, now we're going to be impacting, a greater portion of our season and our golf leagues and so on. There would be some higher costs just for temporary trailer and some other things, probably some lost revenue. We wouldn't have as many concessions as maybe what we have right now. So there are some things that we just don't know an exact number, to. The other thing would be is if we went this route, we get all the plans and specifications done. The other option would be to wait until wintertime, to bid the project. So in 1920, you bid it, you wait for construction until the end of summer of 2020 and open the facility in the spring of 2021, which would be a year later than what we were hoping to do with our original plan. So that's a kind of a rundown of everything. And again, the whole purpose of LEED is, energy efficiency, energy conservation, but it's more than just a building. It's also kind of a way of life, trying to get people to either not drive to these facilities. Can you use mass transit? And that's one of the things you would think, hey, with SciRide, could we get, all the points? Well, the bus stop has to be within a quarter mile of a walkway or a sidewalk in the path. And with the way that the path is designed, and if we put a sidewalk along 20th Street, which we're not recommending for safety reasons, they'd have to go to the south side of 20th Street. It's beyond, so we don't get any points. Just you have to be within that quarter mile, and then you also have to look at the number of stops that the buses make, during the weekdays and also on the weekends. So again, there's a lot of things, and again, council has a sustainability goal. Do what we can. I mentioned part of our design is doing geothermal, which is a good thing. From using as much electricity, you don't have the gas for the furnace and so on. So there are some things that are incorporated into this. So the last thing then is at the back of the report. We just are looking for commission direction before continuing with the project. Should LEED be pursued? If we are going to pursue it, what level do you think we should pursue then again, certified silver, gold, platinum. Or should we continue with along the path we have been, trying to make things as energy as efficient as possible and stay within the budget that we hopefully will have once council, hopefully they'll approve the extra $250,000, which is $1 million construction budget. Should we be talking to our architect? And I think this was a comment at the last meeting. Could we do things now that could be added, into the future, that would, would help as well. And then as far as staff, researching other certifications, our architect did come to us with Energy Star, and not real familiar with that project or with that certification. How that one works is you actually submit information in regards to what have you done to conserve energy, save energy, what types of appliances, fixtures, all those things. And then what they do is they compare your building to other buildings across the country. And then if you're in, I believe, the top 25%, then you get that Energy Star certification. But again, they have categories in Clubhouse. Golf Course Clubhouse is not a category, and we're not sure, which category that we would fit into. We could definitely research that more if the commission felt like that's a route you wanted us to go. So, right. So that's kind of an overview of where we're at. So questions?
So just to be clear, we don't yet have funds identified to pay for the LEED certification. Did I understand that correctly?
Correct.
Okay.
So again, with all this, if you look at this, what our right now we have $750,000 allocated.
Right.
City manager is recommending another $250,000, which would give us $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
If we were to go to the formal LEED certification, that's the C3 number.
Right.
Our architect is saying, the 1.25 to 1.4, which would, get us somewhere in the range of $205,000 to $386,000 short in funding.
So, but the plan is already in the works too. I mean, the money we do already have set aside is already being put forth to kind of revamp the clubhouse and make it more energy sustainable.
So with that standpoint, as we've been going through the design, one of the things that we told the architect is that we want this building to be as energy efficient as possible.
Okay.
So initially they came to us and said, well, we're thinking gas furnace, maybe air conditioner, so on. And then through those discussions, we said, no, we want to go with geothermal because over the 50-year life cycle or 50-year plus life cycle of the building, that's going to be the most economic. It's a little more upfront cost, but from an operation standpoint, it's going to be better than any of the other options. So,
that falls within the budget that we have allocated so far.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So those, as we've been going through, we've been looking at, we've talked about even with, the restroom fixtures,
right?
Going with, there's you can go with minimal water, as far as per flush and so on. There's a lot of different things that you can do. We're looking at, part of the design is LED lighting. We're putting on the windows on the west side, there will be shades, that will be up there. So if when the wind or the sun is to the west, we can put the shades down and block some of that, that heat. Yet in the morning, we can open it up and we can harvest some of that daylight. And that's another thing. Daylight harvesting is a term to use. Is when you can do that, if you have a number of windows, hey, use the natural light, and then we don't even have to turn lights on. So those are all things that, as the architect has been designing what we showed you up there, and again, it's not all the detail, but that's what they've been incorporating into the design anyways.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah. I was just trying to, make a difference between the, what is already in the works and the lead stuff. Seems like it's the extra step. Okay. If we choose to go that route.
Yep.
So, okay. I was just clarifying that.
Yep.
I have a couple questions. The example of the Cyride office, since that was certified under a previous standard,
Version.
do new versions nullify the certification?
No. Once you have the LEED certification, and you get certified, you're certified under that version, and then you can, get a plaque and you can put it up there, say, this is a LEED certified building. Now, if there are changes or if something else happened, there is a recertification process. I'm not, I know that it's there. I'm not exactly sure what or why people do that, but that is something that you could do. Maybe with a different version, you could ask to be recertified under the newest version if you wanted to.
Okay. And the points listed in this chart, they're all maximum point allowances. So, there's a chance that we could pursue something and still not get full point values. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So even if we pursued the LEED certification to get to this 44 points, it's not guaranteed.
That's
Correct.
Yeah.
So we can spend $250,000 for a plaque we won't get.
Correct.
Okay.
We won't even get the plaque. Yeah.
Yep. And again, it's 44,
Right.
but really if we got to 40 points, so.
Understood, but
40 points, yeah.
some of these categories have more than 1 point
Right.
assigned to them.
Yep.
So if you get, if we get the 8 and then
So-
we get the 4, there's no guarantee of any of that.
Correct.
Right. We
So-
could just, for optimize energy performance, we could pursue it, but only get 2 of those additional 4 points.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. And the architect feels that the green, those 25 points they identified, they feel pretty confident that we would get those, but there is a potential that, maybe they're misinterpreting something and there's a potential that we wouldn't get those. And then again, there may be some of those yellows that they're thinking, hey, they're maybes, but maybe they're more in the yes column. We just don't know. Again, we got to rely on our architect to give us his best guess, I guess, or recommendation of where we're going to get points from.
So I am right next to the council goals, and it does talk about sustainability, but it doesn't say anything specific about LEED. And you have mentioned several times to be as energy efficient as possible. I nowhere in this does it say anything about comprehensive city utilities, like the fact that we still have a tremendous waste recovery center that factors into all of our facilities. And so I kind of think that it's just kind of part of our core that we are pursuing that vision and that goal to be as energy efficient as possible. That said, do you know what the rationale for any of the other examples that you showed? What was that rationale for them to pursue LEED? Were they under pressure for someone to do that? Did they consider that
Well,
Did they default into a lot of those points just because of the building?
Right.
Yeah.
The way the building was
Yeah.
designed and
Yeah, and the only one I know of for sure, it's a good question. The only one I know of for sure is that the water plant, if they pursued LEED, they could be forgiven a $6 million loan. And that's and you're talking, but that's out of a
We
70.
have that option.
70
we get $6 million more for our
but-
clubhouse.
Yeah.
But that's out of a $70 million project,
Right.
With it. So,
That's almost
so
10%.
there was, some incentive for them to do that. But I think, with the larger projects, we just had a meeting last week talking about, the Healthy Life Center. And that's one of the things we talked about is, hey, we're going to have more conversation because when you're talking 125,000 square foot building, some of those monitoring things that don't make sense in a small building probably do make sense in a larger building. And some of those monitoring things may be able to to identify something that we wouldn't if we didn't have it. So I think the larger facilities, it helps. Now, I'm not sure with SIRIDE, they do get federal money, so I don't know if there was, some stipulation or maybe some desire, because of some of the funding sources potentially, to go with LEED. So I just know for sure the water plant, what that incentive was.
It looks to me like we're hitting quite a few of the prerequisites as the building's designed currently.
Yep.
So, I mean, it seems like we've kept sustainability, energy, we've kept a good eye on that. And, I mean, it's, I don't know. I feel like we've done very well so far. And the LEED, it seems like a risk to me with that money.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. If we would have pursued it at the beginning of the design phase, now it seems like kind of an expensive afterthought without a lot of value added to the community, even in terms of sustainability. Like, we're not gaining that much more, energy efficiency or sustainability or whatever, because, as you said, a lot of the things we're pursuing are now building standards, and you've already been mindful about some of the choices that you've made in the design process with regards to the HVAC and the lighting and the water and,
I feel like we're going to do that much more with just the plan that's proposed already, with the money that we already have.
Yeah.
Maybe it's worthwhile a little bit later in the future to pursue LEED when we know we have the money for it.
Or at the beginning of the design process.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because then you can budget it in,
Sure.
So.
Yeah, what was the initial budget for this facility?
Like,
Or what was
750.
Yeah, it does.
Well,
that the first?
It's actually
Well,
less than that,
it's
wasn't it?
interesting when we first started, and maybe this is a little bit of naiveness on staff's part, but we're thinking $300,000 will get us we can build a nice house for $300,000, and that's kind of what this is.
That much bigger.
And then we talked to people and said, all right, well, maybe 500,000. So we did that. And then we spoke with an architect, and the architect said, no, you should be able to get this done for 750. So that's where we added the 750. And now we get into design, architect is saying, 750 is not gonna do it. So we started off with a much lower number, and there's
seems like this
different factors into it, material cost and so on. And that's not, when we look at these construction budget ranges, that's not taken, if we delay everything another year, that may drive up, costs another 5 to 10%. Maybe they stay the same. But that's another chance that we're taking.
And if we
delay.
have to push this down the road to find another $250,000, $300,000, how many more projects is that going to delay or,
Take money from.
I mean, I think we have to be very careful about that. I mean, just based on the fact that this seems like a very expensive facility for what it is. And, at some point you got to kind of stop the bleeding and, have a little, be mindful of the future. And, we have a lot of projects that we want to do, that we need to do, for the community that might have a bigger impact than this. So,
Yeah, and that's one of the the concerns, because council could come back and say, well, delay it until we go through another capital improvement plan, or what projects do you want to delay, to get the extra $250,000, $300,000, whatever it might be. And that's no guarantee either, because this is just, they're all estimates. As we go through this, it could be lower, it could be higher, and we just don't know.
Well, the same potential is there that not only would a year delay potentially increase costs, that's delaying in extra income that we could get from the rental of the facility too, that could potentially happen all year long, which it would be great to pour back into the golf program or all of Parks and Rec.
I feel like, the community's been waiting on this for quite a while. This project is much needed, and there's been talk about it forever, it seems like. So it'd be nice to finally get this done.
Well, and to that point, Jeremy, when I presented the capital improvement plan to council member Garton, made that exact same statement. He said, long overdue, and other departments across the state, and he mentioned some, already have a year-round facility, that could be used. So, so no, I think at least one council member, echoes your comments there.
Yeah, and I think, and we also have the need for that meeting space that's included in this. I know that's been a concern with the Healthy Life Center, is adding some more, community meeting spaces, and, this is going to help alleviate that as well. So, I think we need to get going on this.
Do you need a motion for a recommendation?
Really don't, unless you guys absolutely felt like you wanted to, to make a
I've
motion.
been waiting all day to do this. No.
Just to summarize, what I think I'm hearing is the direction from you is probably number 2. Continue with the project. Don't pursue the lead. Try to stay within the $1 million budget. Do whatever we can to be energy efficient. And
if there was a little thing that was forgotten and it's going to be cheap,
right?
Yeah, don't skip over that. But at the same time, let's.
And there may be one thing that we haven't talked about. So even if you look at just the construction budget range, how we mentioned those happen or how they came about, so even if you get down to C with the project budget range, hey, there is some contingency built in there as well. So if we have $1 million and maybe it comes in at project cost of $950 and we don't need some of that contingency, $50,000, we may be able to do some change orders potentially to do something that maybe we didn't think we were going to be able to do, to maybe even make it more energy efficient. I don't know. We'd have to talk to
you do bid alternates and stuff then as well.
We can, yes. Yep. But we try to get as much, into that base bid is what we want. And then if there are some of those extras, we could do those at alternates to get a price. And if it comes in well, then we can say, well, let's do this one, that one, and this one.
Pick which one
type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think we all want to be open to other opportunities that come, even post-construction, but I don't want us to fall into the trap that this is what makes it energy efficient. We have a tremendous staff and community in general that keeps us accountable to being good stewards of what we've been entrusted with, being using things efficiently, we want to spend wisely. So just because we're not LEED certified doesn't mean that we're not doing that.
Right. Yeah, there's nowhere in the LEED certification to account for things that the community does.
Right.
So. I guess the one thing I had brought up at the previous commission meeting that, and this, if it really complicates the issue, is not a priority, but in terms of adding future enhancements, I would be interested in solar panels either on the roof or on the carts. Is it a suitable location for solar panels like that? Is there too much tree cover in the area? Does it make sense? Or would putting it on the carts be an interesting energy savings for the facility and more cost effective, just something like that would be kind of a really visible and interesting energy saving opportunity to pursue. Right. And and that might have more appeal to the community than some of these other really, nitpicky things that don't add a lot of value. So,
Well, even the carts are electric. So,
Yeah.
I mean, what?
Yeah, well, and that's just gonna mention, because one of the things with the building, with the LEED certification, it doesn't take into account maybe some of the other things that
Right.
we're doing. So one of the things that Joshua had a conversation with in regards to golf carts. So, and I may not get these numbers exactly right, but he said, he talked to a company, and for 18 holes, for a gas-powered golf cart was what, like 55?
50 to 55 cents.
50 to 55 cents. Right now, we have like a lead battery, and when you're charging those, they do put off some fumes, so we'd have to do, some type of ventilation system. We don't have an exact cost of that for 15 or for 18 holes, but a lithium battery, which you wouldn't need to put ventilation in, it doesn't put off those fumes, and right now, that's like 5 to 6 cents.
5 to 8 cents per 18.
5 to 8 cents, per 18 holes.
Wow.
So some of those things, so I hear what you're saying,
Yeah.
Sarah. There's some other things that don't even come in or factor into some of these
Yeah.
other things.
and that may
we're doing.
provide more value to the golfers, and
Yeah,
the facility
absolutely.
users, which I think is, is what we really want to do, but,
Yeah.
ultimately, so.
And I mean, it goes to your point too, Eve, that, hey, people hold us accountable for those things, and they may not, gas powered, obviously races around the course faster than the battery operated ones or electric ones do, but they are better for the environment, and there are some things that we could save, from a construction standpoint too, by going that route.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So if somebody feels compelled to make a motion, you can, but I think you've got enough, enough
Direction.
direction.
Yeah.
But, so,
Well, and thank you, whoever pulled all these numbers together. It is a lot of diligence has been
Yeah.
put into looking at it.
yeah. Well, and these last two slides came directly from Design Alliance, an architect. So, good. We'll pass it along.
It's good. I mean, it's good to always look at,
Yeah.
and yeah. So
So are we all in agreement about number 2?
I think
Okay,
so.
good.
All right.
All right.
Good.
Oh.
Get on it.
Is there any other items? So, any other comments? Okay. So we have a meeting this Thursday, Healthy Life Center, and that's at
City Church.
City Church
Oakwood,
on
and that'll
Oakwood
be at 7:00.
at 7.
And public is welcome to do that. And again, just for those of you at home, with that meeting, it will be on the Healthy Life Center. There will be a brief overview of the project. The philanthropic or fundraising committee will give an update, and then there will be some options, given in regards to the project and so on.
Okay.
And so, yeah, you're welcome to come. It will also be broadcast, and things as well. So,
And then the other meeting would be on Thursday. That would be our regular meeting on February 22nd or 21st at 4. So
yes.
with that, do I have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
There we go.
Good. Thanks, everybody.
Yes, thank you. Stay warm.
Oh, boy.